Well, it is pretty remarkable to me to sit here and realize that 1,000 Americans or more are missing right now in North Carolina. The sitting president of the United States, I can't even call him, the president, but the sitting president, the guy sitting in the chair, has not shown up. He's on vacation, apparently. Claims he's running things. The person who's vice president and running for president, she can't show up either. But the former president, the man running for president as the Republican, is there on the ground talking to people, trying to figure out how to get Starlink in place from his friend Elon Musk, while the administration in Washington does, I don't even know what. That's where we're going to start today with Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. He joins me again. Colonel, look, this is not just a perception problem. Look, when the president and the vice president fail to show up in a catastrophic disaster, Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, Northern Georgia, there are towns that are gone, cut off from the world. No roads, no communication, no gas, no food, no electricity, nothing. Donald Trump's there on the ground meeting with people, trying to talk to Elon Musk so they can get Starlink in the air and try to get people cell service and internet service. No leadership from Washington. And if you don't think people notice, man, are you wrong? Where do you want to begin on this?
Well, this is near and dear to my heart because I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was right there in Atlanta before Helene hit. And so I know I have family members there. And even in Atlanta, the water levels, the Chattahoochee River, were incredible. And I went to the University of Tennessee, as you know, in East Tennessee. And when you hear stories and you see the pictures like Chimney Rock, North Carolina, completely gone. When you hear about mudslides that go across Interstate 40, which is a major east-west highway, where is Pete Buttigieg? He can do everything for white dudes for Kamala, but this is his job as the head of the transportation secretary. And so you have an administration that is AWOL. You have an administration
they're AWOL. And you mentioned Atlanta. There's another story going on that's gotten less press. My daughter lives in suburban Atlanta on the north side of town. Can't leave their houses right now because there's this chemical fire with this sheen of chemicals, a haze running through the neighborhoods of this poisonous chemical. Again, where's Pete Buttigieg for that? Where's your Interior Secretary? And tomorrow, the longshoremen are going on strike. The Teamsters are going with them. And Gina Raimondo, your Commerce Secretary, says, well, we haven't really looked at that much. Really? The longshoremen are going on strike tomorrow, which could disrupt supply lines in a way we haven't seen in a very long time. Where's the leadership, Colonel, on any of these major issues?
There is no leadership, and it goes back to understanding that, they have not had a cabinet meeting in over a year. And oh, by the way, this most recent quote-unquote cabinet meeting was led by Jill Biden. So she's not even in that chain of command, but yet she's leading the cabinet meeting. So this is probably one of the worst things that could happen to the Biden-Harris administration right before we get ready to go into this major election, because it shows there's no one in charge. There's no one at the helm of the ship, the USS America. And people are going to remember this. People are going to remember that they were isolated and their government did not show up. Like you just said, 1,000 Americans missing, and the president of the United States of America is on a vacation. This is absurd.
Yeah, plus we spent how many tens or hundreds of billions of dollars in Ukraine? And when asked about it yesterday, Joe Biden says, we don't need any more aid for the people hit by Hurricane Helene. So apparently Americans, you just shut up, get in line, don't need to hear from you. You'll get what you get when you get it, and you'll like it. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, whatever you want. And yeah, that irritates people. Meanwhile,
we could use the United States Air Force. We could use a United States Air Force plane to fly Zelensky over here to the United States of America for a Democrat political event. But yet we cannot take care of the people, as you said, in North Georgia, East Tennessee, and Western North Carolina. People are not going to forget this.
No, they're not going to forget this. And remember, North Carolina and Georgia are swing states. My concern is, what happened to the ballots that had already been mailed in North Carolina to some of those towns that were washed away? What happened to the county clerk? If their offices got washed away, where'd those ballots end up? And how are they going to vote? How are they going to vote in 36 days? If there's no place to vote, and look, these places are not going to be corrected in 30 or 35 days. This is heavily red territory. This is where Republicans win the state of North Carolina. What's the plan? Of course, the governor's a Democrat. We'll see what happens, but this is outrageous. The response is outrageous. Governor Kemp doing a much better job in Georgia. But look, it's one thing after another. It's the chemical fire in Georgia. It's the longshoreman strike. And, of course, it's this catastrophic failure after a once-in-a-generation, maybe once-in-a-lifetime natural disaster. Every chance for Kamala Harris or Joe Biden to show leadership, they are absent from the party. And I for one, am outraged, and I do not think I'm alone.
No, you're not alone. And as I said, those that are there in this catastrophe, but also those who have relatives and loved ones that are in this catastrophe, they are seeing this. And, I hope and pray that the North Carolina Secretary of State's office will step up and do all the right things, that they have some type of emergency protocol plan for, incidents like this so that they can make sure that these people get to the ballot box. But again, let's start talking about who they should remember did not show up when they were in need.
Yeah, when America was in need, they didn't show up. When Ukraine is in need, they get a blank check, courtesy of Washington and Joe Biden. Yeah, pretty remarkable. Yeah. Colonel, greatly appreciate you being here as always, and we'll keep an eye on these things, but it is a problem. It is a huge mess. It is of biblical proportions. I'll give you the last word.
Yes, it is. But again, it just shows that failure of leadership that we have right now from this Biden-Harris administration. And you see the leadership of someone like a President Trump, who has been a president. He's on the ground. He is looking to see what we can do to rectify this situation, bring aid to Americans. That's the difference in what this election comes down to. Someone that's just out there politicking and someone that cares about the American people.
You got it. All right, Colonel, thank you. We'll talk again soon. Thank you as always, my friend.